All right, we are good to start, team.
All right. Sean, you gonna kick things off or you want me to?
Tom's going to kick things off.
All right.
You want to flip to the first slide, Mike?
Sure.
Awesome. Awesome. Thank you. So, today is going to be a great day. We're going to talk a little bit or a lot about collaboration. And Blue Mantis recently acquired Collegio. Collegio is a company that was founded in 2022, focused mainly on Cisco collaboration solutions as well as Microsoft integrations. And really our focus was to improve our customers' communication based on, whatever platforms that they're on and whatever environments that they're in to make their experience that much better. Collaboration is huge in today's business world. It's important for everybody to stay connected. And sometimes there's multiple platforms, sometimes there's not, but our focus was to really make sure that our customers got the best possible outcome. And the reason why Blue Mantis acquired Collegio was really to add that collaboration portfolio that they were missing internally. And a lot of their customers came back to Blue Mantis and said, hey, we really need you guys to get into this area. So we were fortunate enough to get together and partner with Blue Mantis, and the acquisition was official back in November. And I think the key was making sure that Blue Mantis kept their connection with their customers, listened to their customers, and understood that this is an area that they needed to bring, to their customer base. And like today, we're gonna introduce Mike Testa in a second from Cisco, who's been a longtime friend and an excellent resource from Cisco. But what we do, our mission is really to meet with all existing customers with an objective to understand your whole environment, not just try to push product on you, but to have a conversation and try to figure out where we can improve your experience, especially in the hybrid environment today. Some people are going back to work, some people are remote, some people are on the road. We really need to be able to help our customers bring that all together onto one collaboration environment. Some of the things we offer as well, which is helpful, is a total cost of ownership analysis and ROI analysis on your collaboration platform. And we've been able to save customers a lot of money, integrate and bring them onto a better platform. And that's really why we've been successful and why Blue Mantis acquired us. We also do collaboration audits. So if you guys are on a traditional phone system, if you're using, a different meetings platform, if you're using different video, whether it's, computer video or endpoint video, we can put together an audit for you to clearly understand some of the areas where you need to focus to improve what you're doing. And again, keeping that TCO analysis and that ROI in place. So our practice really includes licensing expertise, which is really important, understanding Cisco's models, what's best for you as a customer, and helping you there. We also do installation services, so you don't have to outsource to the manufacturer. We have that full capability. And lastly, we offer a white glove managed service. If you don't want to get involved with anything to do with collaboration, we can take care of that for you. So that's kind of from a high level, why we were acquired, what we do, and moving forward, we just like to meet with as many customers as possible to help work with you. So from there, I'm going to turn it over to Mike Testa, who is a director of collaboration and has been with Cisco for a long time. He'll take it over from here.
That's right. Thanks, Tom. As Tom mentioned, my name is Michael Testa. I have been with Cisco for a long time. That long time is actually about 18 years here coming up in this November. And my entire time has been spent in the collaboration space. And I think the timing of Blue Mantis acquiring Collegio really probably couldn't be better, considering what we're seeing in the market, not only from our lens, but just in the overall global landscape of what's happening across the world. To start off, I'll start with this statement here, where what we're seeing is really the most significant transformation in terms of how people live and work. And there's really two driving factors that are contributing to this through our lens right now, and what we're seeing with our customers across the world. Number one, we're still adjusting and living in this post-pandemic environment, trying to adjust to what that means. Even though it's been 3 or 4 years since we've started to go back to work, people are still struggling with that. And I'll expand on that in just a minute. And then secondly, we would be remiss if we didn't talk about the impact of AI and how people are trying to react and adjust to that, not only in building AI workloads and everything that's required for that, but also consuming them and how you do that in an environment both at home and at work. And when we combine these two, we are seeing a massive shift that really is in line with the greatest momentum shift inside of work since we've seen since really the advent of the internet. So it's significant. Let me first focus on the first point around the shift around the change and trying to adapt to this post-pandemic world. And I love this story. So let me start with a brief story. This is a bit of a cautionary tale about a young man named Alexander Whitman, which begs the question, who is Alexander Whitman? Alexander Whitman is in his late 20s. He was a triple major at a school out in North Carolina. He majored in finance, international business, and to top it off, Spanish of all things. He graduated with a 3.9 GPA near the top of his class. So much so that when you graduate, they have a large bell. And the person at the top of the class gets to ring the bell, signifying the end of the graduation. And Alexander was selected to do that, representing his entire class at the time. During his senior year, he took an internship at Dell. And that internship led to an immediate job offer upon his graduation. Before he started at Dell, though, he took about 6 months out and traveled Europe, I would imagine, taking advantage of a Spanish degree in some locations, and immediately returned back to Dell. Within the first 2 to 3 years with his job at Dell, he quickly rose the ranks as one of the top sellers, working inside the public sector segment at Dell. I know this about Alex because I asked it to him when I was interviewing for a job here at Cisco, which led to the ultimate question for me, which is, why are you leaving Dell, Alex? Seems like you've had a great experience with them. They've treated you well. You went from an internship right into a role, and you're thriving in that. And Alexander's response was not uncommon from what we're hearing with everybody. And it was that Dell was requiring him to be in the office now moving forward. And his remote work lifestyle coming in that post-pandemic world was going to be no more. And normally that would be fine. But if you didn't go to the office, you were ineligible for any promotions inside Dell. That was the policy that they rolled out. And the problem with Alex is the closest office to him was about 2 hours away. I immediately hired Alex, and he's been with me for about 2 years now, and he's continuing to thrive at Cisco now. Dell's loss was Cisco's gain. And I like Alex's story because it's not a unique one. We're seeing this everywhere. And as we think about collaboration and we think about how our customers need to consume this and adjust to the changing world, we do as much research as we can to try to shape and solidify our vision and our strategy for the future. In fact, recent studies have shown that about 80% of employers are mandating some type of return to office, whether that's full or part-time. You also are hearing this in the news recently, right? With the recent administration, with government workers being demanded to come back to work. So we're seeing this across the board. The flip side of that is employees aren't responding too well, right? We see about 76% of employees would actually consider, very much like Alex, quitting if flexible or hybrid work ends in their current environment. Now, it's not all bad news, right? Because what we're actually seeing is going back to the office isn't necessarily the concern. It's why are we going back to office is what people are adjusting to. If it's going back to the days of old, working in the large cubicle farms and everything is spread out, and that's what's expected, people are really resistant to that. But people do want to come back to office for the right reasons. And the reasons that we're seeing out there are really the top three that you see here. Number one, they want to collaborate with others. The work that you do when you come into a physical location is different than what you've typically done in the past, right? It is not coming in to just sit down at your desk, throw on your headphones and bang away at the keyboard. It's really to work with others. Number two is around ideation and brainstorming, right? The power of the collective in a group setting really can't be matched. And trying to bring people together for the right reasons is important, and creating an environment where that is what is thriving for that creativity. And number three, and I think maybe what I would argue is actually one of the most important, is foster that sense of belonging, making sure that people feel as though they're a part of something, getting out from behind their screens, getting out from behind their desks, having that social interaction with people, and creating an environment that is important for people to do so. So when we think about the future of work, and we think about why Blue Mantis brings in a partner like Colegio and where it is that Cisco is going with this, it is much more than just providing phone services or dial tone. It is really about creating the future place of work. And when we think about the workplaces out there, most of them are not equipped for the future. In fact, about 1 in 3 employees think that the office that they go to is not equipped for the environment that they would want to be a part of. Which begs the ultimate question, which has led to Cisco's strategy around collaboration, that when you think about return to work, you think about consuming collaboration workloads, are you creating that to be a mandate, or are you creating a magnet that your employees are actually being drawn to, both physically and through technology? This is the forefront, and this is the foundation of what has led to Cisco's strategy around collaboration, and I'm going to expand on that a little bit further. But before I do, it's not lost on me that we're presenting WebEx on a Zoom meeting. It's okay. Normally, the old Mike Testa of, 10 years ago, probably a little bit upset about that. But the fact is we live in a multi-platform world, right? And we work with many vendors out there, and we know that our customers are dealing with many vendors, and that's just fact of the nature. I also know that WebEx over time has carried a bit of a connotation to it. I've heard things like it's old. I've heard things like it's outdated. When some people think about WebEx, they think about the little blue and green ball and passing the ball to each other. If you guys know what I'm talking about, then you've definitely been a WebEx customer in the past. But if you think about what WebEx is today, WebEx is the umbrella brand for everything underneath the Cisco collaboration portfolio. That includes calling, that includes contact center, that includes devices, phones, and the rest of the portfolio, which we'll talk to in just a little bit. And I do want to be clear that at Cisco, we listened, we heard the feedback, we've responded, invested, and where we are right now is we continue to lead the way in the collaboration market. Over the last 4 years, we've put massive investments and massive effort into improving the quality and scale of our infrastructure that supports the entire collaboration portfolio, both on-prem and in the cloud. We've poured over $3 billion in the last 4 years in organic development around features and functionality inside every single one of our product workloads. And that does not include some initial acquisitions we've made around Babel Labs, Slido, Socio, IMA Mobile, and others. We've also tried to simplify the offers. We have partners like Collegio on board here, now part of Blue Mantis, that does have the expertise to untie the knot sometimes of what Cisco's offers can provide. But we continue to drive to make offers that are consumable and scalable for every one of our customers out there to make it simple and affordable to utilize the technology at your fingertips. And I mentioned it earlier, and I'll be mentioning it many times over, because if we're not talking about AI, then we're not talking about collaboration, because artificial intelligence across everything we do really is the forefront of our strategy. And the reason for this is what we believe is the experiences that you're creating matter. This is core to us at Cisco. And when we think about the collaboration group, it is one of the few products that you see and touch and interact with every single day in some way, shape, or form, whether you realize it or not. And that experience from the beginning to the end does carry some real world upside. And in some cases, if you don't get it right, some downside, not too dissimilar to what we heard about Alexander earlier. So high level, Cisco has 3 core pillars to our strategy. One is around driving AI data ready centers. The second is around digital resiliency and the security that's required and observability across networks. Where we're focused on today is what we call future-proofed workplaces. And there's 3 core pillars to our strategy as we think about this moving forward. Number 1, it's around reimagining work with the WebEx suite. This is empowering the employees inside your organization to have the tools that they need to do their job effectively, no matter where that is, whether it's at home, in the office, or in my case, oftentimes at a basketball field a basketball court or a soccer field, wherever it is that you may be. We're also reimagining workspaces with devices. We talked about that return to office earlier and how different that really is and the type of spaces you need. So creating a device for every space and for every place is at the core of what our foundational strategy is. And we're one of the very few vendors that can talk about devices in just a minute that provide both the software and the hardware combined together. And then lastly, it's about reimagining customer experiences and creating that digital front door. These 3 focus areas, though, really boil into 2 core experiences. One, it's your employee experience. It's how do people like Alex, in the case of Alex at Dell, interact with you on a daily basis and interact with you within your company standards. We know that even if you do mandate or successfully create the magnet to bring people into your office, that oftentimes somebody is going to be remote. More often than not, 90% of the time, every single meeting is going to have a remote participant, is what recent studies have shown. We also know that the mobility is very important. I mentioned earlier about being at a soccer field or a basketball court. Doing work is very different than going to work, and making sure you have that and the tools available at your fingertips is really critical to creating your employee experience. The second experience we think about is not the employee experience, but your customer's customer experience. How do they experience you? Right? I think this is becoming more important today than it ever has before. And where we're seeing a lot of interest is certainly around the contact center space and really the customer engagement. That is evolving faster than I've seen anything else in my 18 years here at Cisco. The digital front door of how customers want to interact with you is different. I look no further than my 15-year-old son, who I'm not so certain that he knows that his phone can actually make phone calls. He only interacts via text, right? That's his expectation. That's what he wants. Or If it's not text, it's video, right? It's a FaceTime. It's something along those natures. The needs of his interactions are very different than what we've had in the past. And seeing that evolution inside our contact and our customer experience space is critically important. And I couple that with the devices, because this is also true when you're interacting with your customers, right? I'm sure many of you out there have had the opportunity where you had to present to a customer or do a briefing of some sort, or even just a typical meeting, whatever it is. And you had somebody join where they're at the far end of the conference room and you can't see them or you can't hear them and you're not quite sure who's talking and you're trying to struggle with that. And those customers are experiencing the same with you on your end, if you're not equipped with the right equipment to try to reduce that distance as much as we can. And when we go from 3 priorities to 2 experiences, our vision is it really breaks down to one single platform. When we think about the uniqueness of the needs from the contact center into the employee experience, coupled with devices and everything else that lies underneath that from a foundational standpoint, our vision is to continue to drive and create a singular platform that only Cisco can provide. At the base of that is our collaboration platform. And when we talk about platform, what we're really talking about is the engine behind it that makes the entire collaboration portfolio run. And this also includes giving you flexibility that you need to tailor it to your unique business. That includes things like SDKs or APIs to turn in and really align some of the functionality with some applications that you may need at your own work, whether it's Cerner or Salesforce or Jack Henry, the list goes on, where we see customers needing to integrate the collaboration elements into their daily workflows. And that's part of the core fabric of what we talk about from the platform. We layer on top of that deployment options. Look, we're in this transition, right? And we live in a hybrid world. We have so many customers that are currently deployed on an on-premise environment. We have some that are moving to the cloud. We have many are what I would call cloud curious, where they do believe that they need to get there eventually, but not quite sure how. And allowing that hybrid deployment model over time is something that only Cisco can do. Collaboration Suite is around the consumption models. We're going to talk about that in just a little bit, but it's giving you the concept of choice, but also giving you enough tools at your disposal to be effective from a day-to-day. The other element is specialized, right? We also know that industry-specific needs are out there, right? Whether it's higher education or government, creating both offers and products, whether it's things like IL5 or FedRAMP, or giving you some tie-ins to certain learning management systems. Those specialized experiences are core, what I said earlier, and all this is wrapped around with our video devices. What envelops the entire platform story here is really 3 core elements. Number 1, and probably most importantly, is security, right? At Cisco, security is core to our DNA. It is who we are, is what we believe, and securing your experiences from end to end is the most important thing to us, especially when you start layering in the left side, which is that artificial intelligence piece. When you start layering in access to information to allow meaningful interactions through things like the AI assistant, which we'll talk about in just a moment, making sure those interactions are secure and can be trusted is core. And all of this boils down to simplicity in terms of management. And how is it that you manage a portfolio that can be as vast as it is, with users that can be as spread out as much as every corner of the globe in a very simplistic way. And our core functionality for that is what we call Control Hub. And if there's anything else that you take outside of this, I would encourage you all to take some time with Sean and with Tom to take a look at Control Hub and how ease of use it is to manage the entire stack from end to end. It truly is the superpower of the collaboration portfolio. We've said it a bit, so let's talk about some of the fun stuff, right? This is the sexy stuff when we think about the collaboration portfolio. And this is really what's got me interested and really keeps me motivated at my job, why I've been here for 18 years. And part of that is the constant innovation cycle around the collaboration portfolio. And right now, the biggest piece of that is what is happening with the AI assistant, which is ingrained in every element of the Cisco collaboration portfolio. So I talked earlier about WebEx Suite, which is really tailored toward that employee experience. We talked about Cisco devices. One of the elements around Cisco devices that I think is important is the forefront that our business unit had in designing what is currently the world-class standard for video devices, that we've been putting NVIDIA chips in these devices for the past 5 to 6 years, preparing ourselves for this AI evolution. So when you think about the compute power that's needed for some of the features that are being developed and rolled out and providing real life, real world value from our devices, that forefront has been built in, and it goes back to the concept around future-proofing work. We are prepared for much more innovation ahead. WebEx Contact Center continues to be the digital front door, and we're seeing massive evolution on that. with WebEx Connect being that connection through your SMS and your digital connection, and the management around Control Hub. Now, I'm not going to read this list to you, but this is just some of the AI innovations that we have rolled out over the last 18 months or so. I've highlighted a few that are my personal favorite. On the WebEx contact center side, one of the things that has our customers probably leaning in the most, and where most of our conversations have been tailoring towards, is the concept of the AI agent. It is creating that voice and digital front door that is agentless and creating enough intelligence inside of the platform so that that first experience is a good one, it is captured, and in some cases, from your lens, very affordable when we think about introducing the AI agent into the contact center and what that means. There's plenty of other features and functionality that's coming out around the contact center space. And again, I would invite you all to take a look at a deep dive demo inside of what WebEx Contact Center can provide. It truly is groundbreaking. Inside the WebEx suite, there's a couple of elements and features that I'm a big fan of. Certainly the summaries and highlights is probably my favorite. I am responsible for the US commercial business here inside of Cisco. I have about 8 different teams in every corner of the country. I miss a lot of meetings, as you can imagine, and I get added to a lot of WebEx spaces, as you could probably imagine. If I had to watch every single recording and read every single space from top to bottom to catch up on my day-to-day, this would be literally a full-time job multiplied by 2. The summaries and highlights breaks down everything for me, and I can catch up in an hour-long meeting and with about a 5-minute highlight reel of what I really need to know, capture what the action items coming out of that. Truly is a game changer for me. And probably my favorite, and we see this in other platforms as well, I would argue Cisco does it better than anyone, is the background noise removal. I am joining you today from my home office. You could probably tell that by looking where I am. I have an 18-pound dog that thinks he's a 75-pound Rottweiler. That God forbid you walk down my sidewalk, he's going to be barking his head off. I also have 3 crazy boys inside my house. So when I'm working consistently, removing the background and the chaos from my home really is important to me. And it does make a meaningful impact in terms of some of the innovation. And again, there's plenty more to talk about as we think about the AI functionality inside of the platform, and something we encourage you to come take a look at. So I've said this a couple of times. I've talked about WebEx Suite. And I think it's important we understand what that means, right? WebEx Suite is a couple of things. One, it is how we bundle and really package our software. It is also how you're able to consume it from a licensing standpoint as well as we go down that path. What is included in the WebEx Suite is really all the features and functionality that we believe you need to make hybrid work and the future-proof work a reality. First and foremost is meetings. We're well aware we're not the only person in the market with meetings. Again, we're joining you from Zoom today, which I'm perfectly okay with. But we also see Microsoft, Google, everybody is out there. It is a multi-platform world, and providing you a meetings resource in either whether it be a primary or backup is something that is paramount inside the suite. Business messaging is critical. Obviously, calling is probably the heaviest and most utilized workload. Webinars and events, which, believe it or not, we actually view are 2 very different things, right? Webinars can be very much digital. Events can be a combination of the 2, which include things like ticketing and scheduling and maybe multi-days. That is also part of the WebEx platform. Whiteboarding for that ideation is in part of everything we do, whether it's on a device or in person, giving you functionality like polling inside your meetings and inside your events for customer and immediate interaction and real-time feedback. And then asynchronous video messaging, which we're seeing more and more of this really have a massive impact using a tool that we call Vidcast. All of this runs on the WebEx platform. We've talked about that. But Cisco's approach isn't just about software. It is the Apple model, right? It is the software plus purpose-built hardware. So we couple our collaboration software suite with the devices and the world-class devices I spoke earlier. And our device portfolio ranges from everything from the simplest of headsets. When I say simple, I'm probably even a little bit modest because some of the headsets really are some pretty incredible technology, some of which even partner with the likes of Bang & Olufsen, which is as high quality fidelity audio as you'll ever hear. Couple that with phones, which has a recent refresh into our desk series, board series, and the room series. So I mentioned earlier, creating a device for every space and for every place. We really do try to think about that from the smallest of huddle rooms to the mobility you might need in your backpack, to the largest of conference rooms, and making sure you're enabled end-to-end with a very similar, consistent user experience across the board from a device standpoint. And when we think about devices, the vision and the strategy we have for this is trying to eliminate as much distance as we can. And really what we're calling it is distant zero. The devices and the experience on our platform has really been nothing you'll see in market. If there's anything else you take away from today, I would encourage you to look at Control Hub and Cisco devices, because I truly believe they have a massive impact that people really can't understate. I really can't underestimate how impactful that will be. We talk about some of the functionality inside of that. One is around speaker tracking. Speaker tracking uses the AI intelligence actually built into the device, that if the speaker is moving around the room or presenting, if we were doing this in a dual environment where maybe we're in office and remote, it would have the ability to track the speaker without any additional controls needed. And that is all built inside the camera. Frames and people focus. Again, this is a feature that I can't really speak highly enough of. I mentioned earlier about being in those scenarios where you may join a meeting and you have one camera in front of a very large room. And if you're the remote participant on the other end, it's very hard to tell who is actually talking in the room, right? And you're leaning in, you're turning up your volume, you're trying to see. Frames and people focus will intelligently count the people in the room and frame them out for you to have a closer interaction, to have a much more in-person experience as if you were there in the room with them. Also tracks the speaker. So if you do have someone that starts speaking, they'll be swapped out so you get the active speaker at all times. I talked about audio and background noise removal. I think that's most critical so that you're not hearing that fuzz on the back end. And then meeting zones. So you're restricting the only part of the room, or in some cases, the huddle space or open space that really should only be part of that meeting, and making sure you restrict the view on that. All this intelligence is built into the platform. All of this is built into the devices themselves individually. And the reason why that's important when we think about that functionality being a part of the device is multi-platform, right? We talked about this earlier, that customers out there have choice, right? And instead of trying to compete for choice, we want to enable choice. It's important, right? And our devices are standard and can work on everything from Google Meet to Zoom to Microsoft Teams, and of course, natively via WebEx. Microsoft Teams is probably the area where we're seeing the most uptick and most interest from our customers. And in fact, we are one of the leading providers on Microsoft Teams rooms and certified for all of Microsoft across all of our major device portfolio as well. So the Microsoft Teams experience is something that you can have natively running Teams on the device in a secure fashion, and all of the functionality and all of the AI features that are built into the devices themselves are also functional inside of a Microsoft Teams room environment as well, giving you the choice of deployment that you choose fit. Whether you would like the WebEx Cisco experience, which is Room OS, or in this case, if you'd like the Microsoft MTR experience, you have that ability and you have that functionality as well. It gives you the power of choice, gives you flexible deployment options, and it gives you the ability to consume what your employees and ultimately your customers may need from you at any point in time. As we come to a close here, I'd be remiss if I didn't comment once again on Control Hub. Okay? When we think about the superpower of the collaboration portfolio, not only is it the experiences that we have brought to life through the power of creativity and innovation and the investments we've made over the last few years, but it's really the simplicity and ease of management on the end user from the IT group or from the facilities group that may be responsible for overseeing the devices, the rooms, or just the general deployment in general. And Control Hub is the single pane of glass management that gives you everything from managing all of your apps, services, and devices in one space, creating and managing some workflows that are driven through the AI engines that give you some flexibility of choice, and also integrations into things like Meraki and Thousand Eyes to give you networking and troubleshoot capabilities right inside the platform itself. Control Hub really is your single pane of glass management for everything on the entire collaboration portfolio. And we've seen deployments of thousands of users take place over a weekend due to the power of Control Hub, as opposed to what would have taken weeks, if not months and years prior. Right? So in closing, as we come to an end of my session here, what we see at Cisco is pretty clear, right? The future of work is hybrid. We are not going back to the days of old. It is not going to be the way it used to be. And we continue to see an environment where customers are both in office and remote, and that's never going to change. So creating those environments that promote everything we said earlier around that creativity, that sense of belonging, and creating that magnet where you actually want to be a part of it and you want to come to the office is something that you need to think about. And that's not just an IT conversation. That is an IT conversation. That is an HR conversation, facilities, security. We are seeing everybody involved in how do you create that better, inclusive experience for all of your employees. And at the core of that is the ability to communicate, with immersive video being ubiquitous across the entire landscape of your employee experience. So in doing so, I would encourage you and invite you to spend some time with both Tom and Sean. I couldn't be happier about the recent announcement around the acquisition. Collegio historically has been one of our strongest and best partners here in the Northeast, and I look forward to continued success sharing that with both Sean and Tom and the rest of the Blue Mantis team. And I'm really excited for what Cisco WebEx can do for you inside of your particular businesses. And I look forward to hopefully having an opportunity to meet many of you in person and have a much deeper conversation in terms of how we might be able to help you moving forward and bridge some of the gaps that we know are out there. So with that being said, Tom or Sean, I could pass it over to you and see if there's anything else you want me to expand on, if there's any questions for us to maybe dive deeper into.
Yeah, Mike, I was wondering if you could talk about the development partnership that you have with Microsoft.
Yeah, totally. It goes deep, right? The development partnership with them has gone on for say probably about 3 years now, Sean. And really it's around co-developing the team's experience inside the devices to make sure that the path forward really is unified. I mean, they are in that compartner, right, view, but we really view the meeting side as really a true partnership. And there's an investment from both Microsoft and our BU together, mutually designing the experience of Microsoft Teams on the devices. We are not just running their app on top of it. It is truly as a native integration from Microsoft themselves in partnership with our BU running Microsoft Teams rooms inside of the Room OS operating system of the devices. And that couldn't be done without a partnership from Microsoft, right? It truly has been co-developed from the ground up. It was about a year in development before we brought it into market. And since we brought it into market, we've gone from very few to high double-digit percentage of the rooms that have been deployed with Microsoft have been deployed on a Cisco device.
Sounds good. We've been told that you've had a pretty good last year in terms of the collaboration pillar at Cisco. Can you give us an idea of how much you grew year over year?
Yeah, I can even tell you just how we grew this first half because it ended on Friday. So we grew about 17% year over year just this last half. The year prior to that was another high double-digit growth year, upwards of 20%. So we are seeing a lot of interest coming back inside of the collaboration group. And I think as customers are balancing what to do, right? We talked a lot about this new world order. It feels like the pandemic was years behind us because it was, but the ripple effects are still in effect today. And as we're starting to get into this return to office momentum, it's still a very real relevant conversation. If you told me 18 months ago I'd still be having this conversation, I'd call you a liar. Right? I would have thought it would have transitioned much quicker. But that's not true. I would actually say today, more than ever, it is a topical conversation, and customers are looking for a trusted advisor to help guide them on that. And Cisco's commitment and really recommitment into the portfolio has really, I think, opened up the opportunity to act as that consultant. And really, when you see what we've been able to provide from top to bottom, from, like I said, from devices into that user experience, into the customer experience, we really are seeing the ability to have a positive impact with a lot of customers. And that's resulted in good growth for us, right? But that growth is coming from results and real tangible business value we're able to provide, more so than anything else, which we're really proud about.
Sounds good, Mike. I don't see any other open questions out there. We will make the slides available to everybody that's on this call. Thank you very much, Mike. Thanks for all for making this happen as well. Thank you all for joining. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Great job, Mike. Awesome presentation.